Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Yearning for More podcast. My name is Kerri Crust, self-love and intimacy coach. And I created this podcast, this show, for people to eavesdrop on some of the, really fulfilling, juicy conversations that I have with a lot of great women and men in my life. So today I'm very excited to have with me Elaine Gibson. Elaine, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much. Yeah, we have some really wonderful, juicy conversations. I love the way you put that.
Yeah, I love it. And it's just like conversations where it's like, oh, you feel so full after. And so it's like, okay, I'm learning so much from things, and I'm learning so much from these conversations. I want other people to be able to get the opportunity as well. So today we're going to be talking about, when your body talks, like, what does that mean? What does it look like? All that kind of stuff. So Elaine, but before we get into that, Elaine, do you want to give a little bit of background of who are you? What do you do? All that stuff.
Sure. I'm 75 years old. Do you have enough time? a long story. Yes. Thank you, Kerri. I am a healthy lifestyle designer. And I believe that everybody should enjoy and live a life of optimal health, vitality, and joy every day. How did I get there? So, like I said, I am 75, and
by the way,
well, you know what? This is what it's supposed to look like. Isn't that really cool? Yeah. This is what it's supposed to look like. It's not supposed to look like body of pain and all that. Anyway, so life was going along wonderfully, and then in 2008, it wasn't. In 2008, my medical team told me that they did not expect me to see my grandchildren grow up. I had a very surprise recurrence of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I had been clean for over 6.5 years. And one thing led to another. My body was whispering to me. It's interesting that we're going to talk about it today, but my body was talking to me, and I went back to the powers that be, and lo and behold, there I was in stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is not something people historically recover from. And I just knew that traditional protocol was not something that I wanted to do. I don't advocate anybody else's journey, but I knew that for me, I didn't want to go to plan A and put toxins and chemicals in my body, because actually I felt that it was toxins and chemicals that helped create the situation that I was in. So I came home, and, as we talked about, I fell to my knees, and I looked up. I have this gorgeous hand needlepoint rug, like Monet's garden, in my living room area. And I just fell down, and I said, okay, God, what do you want me to learn? I know I'm not going to die. It's not what you have for my children. Just tell me what you want. I'm all in. I'm all yours. Tell me what you want. I had no idea what life was going to hold for me. So I literally went on a journey to figure out what is the foundation of health. That's where I was. I went into game mode, because it's interesting, Kerri, and I'm sure that you probably, with the work that you do, people don't take on people do or don't take on the identity of what's happening to them. That's past work.
Right.
And so much of what you do is to get them out of the past, to get them into the present, so they can create a life that's in front of them that hasn't unfolded yet. And that's basically what I did. And it was like, how in the world did my doctor think she could tell a Jewish grandmother from New York City that she wouldn't see her grandchildren grow up? It's like, I don't know who you're talking to, but you haven't met us yet.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So one thing led to another. I did go out. It was Valentine's Day, and I went out of the country, because at that time they weren't doing treatments in the country that I wanted. They weren't doing a lot of alternative stuff. So I wouldn't do it again. I wouldn't have to do it again. And that hospital isn't there. It was really interesting. The city girl goes to it was like on a movie set, Yeah. Like, really? You're the ones that are going to help me live. But I'll tell you something. there was a butterfly. I looked out the window and there was a butterfly there. And butterflies are my thing. Every time I see a butterfly, I say, hi, Mom, hi, Dad. So I really felt that I was enveloped by my angels. That can sound like whatever it was. Everybody has their own peace, way of finding peace. And I literally went on a journey. So, some of my diet I changed. And then in the end of 2009, I was clean and great. I had been clean before, so I wasn't kind of so reticent to go, yay. I'm still afraid. And then things went on and I explored more and more. And I discovered Lisa Wilson and the Raw Food Institute, and they were having a retreat near me. So I signed up for it. And that was the beginning of the next phase. I walked in and they handed us green juice and I drank it for 2 hours. I was so embarrassed. I kept going back for more and going back for more. And I was like, oh my God, is anybody watching? But my body was saying, okay, girl, you're finally getting what this is all about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And one thing led to another. And interestingly, when I did go, I found a center here in Virginia that did the kind of work that I wanted when I had my diagnosis. And they had, when I walked in, first time, I just wanted to tell you this, circling back, that, and I don't know if I told you this, when I walked in there for my first treatment, I did a very low dose chemotherapy, which is the way I wanted to go. And Carol Ann, the infusion nurse, said, okay, here, pick a card. I said, what's a card? For me, picking a card is when I play cards with my grandmother or my grandchildren. And they were various cards. And I picked a card, and it was miracle healing. Mm-hmm. How weird is that? I mean, that was my first introduction to this part of the world. And everybody was like, nobody ever picks that card when everybody's dying around you.
Yeah.
So I use them now, and I just, so anyway, one thing led to another. And what I've done is I've put together a lifestyle. I got very curious. I used to think it was a calling. And for a long time, I used those words that I felt that this was my calling. But in doing some more studying with some other people, Rob Bell and folks, and it was like, this is my opportunity to get for curiosity. Right. And that feels more humbling. And this is the first time I've ever mentioned this out loud, but that feels like a more humble journey, which I was really on. So I put everything that I do, morning, noon, and night, everything that I do. And now I bring it to my work. And on the way, I lost 28 pounds. I was not looking to lose weight. I thought I was pretty hot as a size 10 and then I look back and I say to my family, I say to my husband, Nevin, how could you let me look like that? Because look, but I think it's not only the weight, when the weight falls off, it's the body releasing toxins.
Yes.
So people think that when I talk about weight loss, I never talk about diet. I never talk about nutrition. I don't talk about it like that. I talk about eating for radiance, and, which is kind of the way you think and feel. And so that's what I do now, and I work with women who are over 45. I really work with women who are committed to their curiosity, to their legacy, to their mission, and they're exhausted. I mean, who has time to figure this out?
Right.
And they really, really, really want to find that place of health and feel wonderful, but they need to do it with the least distraction and disruption.
Okay.
And that's where I come in.
Great.
Yeah.
So, the topic is, when our body talks. So what does that mean? Like, what does it really mean when we say, our bodies are speaking to us, or we have to listen to our bodies? Like, what does that really mean? It could sound very woohoo to people.
Yeah, and it's so the opposite. And I'm so glad that you picked up on that in our conversations. So Oprah Winfrey talks about first you get a pebble, then you get a stone, then you get a brick, then you get a brick wall. And if you don't listen by then, you get a demolition truck.
Yeah.
So our body is always whispering to us. Everything around us is. Our cars are. Our cars sputter and we don't do anything, or our computers slow down and we don't do anything, and all of a sudden it blows up and oh my God, my motherboard's down. But if we had listened to it earlier, so in our body there are so many early signs that our body is talking to us. And little things, it's the little things to be aware of. And I kind of use the concept of healthfulicious. And everything we do, we have to realize that it goes back and reflects to our health. Little things like, are you able to take your rings off? How many women can't get their rings off? And I took diuretics for years. My hands were swollen. Well, I thought my ankles were swollen. Well, I thought that was natural, but it wasn't. They shouldn't be that way. So little things happen. Fatigue. It's so interesting. There are so many signs. Constipation. We're not supposed to be constipated. We're not supposed to be exhausted. We're not supposed to have inflammation. We're not supposed to have autoimmune. We're not supposed to, all these things that we accept and settle for, that we don't listen to. I was on a mastermind, a 2-day mastermind for 10 hours with a woman, and there were 15 of us. And one of the women had to leave halfway through the second day because she had a migraine. And we were all supposed to bring a tip. This is about speaking and all that. And she had a migraine coming on because she got dehydrated. So if you start to feel things and you're aware that our body is always speaking to us,
right?
But like I said, little things like inflammation, like insomnia, like just not being able to make decisions, or like one of the things that, interesting, and I'm going to be vulnerable enough to say this. One of the things that I tell my husband to be aware of for me is that when I get out of sorts, and it's just, there's too much going on mentally, it starts to show up physically. And for me, it's follow through and focus and all the opportunities that us creatives have to put things in place, rather than, I don't want to say a challenge. And I say to him, Nevin, if you catch me not making our bed on the third day, you need to come and give me a hug. Because I've lost it. I'm on the verge of losing it.
Right.
I'm on the verge of the meltdown. And for me, that's a sign I've started to see. But women are doing so much now. Especially now, we're called upon to do so much. If you wish that you could just sneak out at 3:00 in the afternoon to take a nap for 10 minutes when nobody would bother you, your body is talking to you. Something is off. And our cells, and interesting, when we start to gain weight, we think it's just the aesthetic. But when we start to put weight on, our body is talking to us, because our fat cells are like bubble wrap. So when our body is filled with toxins, our fat cells protect us, protect our organs and stuff. And they're like bubble wrap. And this is why when people start to detox and stuff, they start to lose weight in places that look better, around in here, because the toxins release the fat cells and one thing leads to another. And your cravings, our cravings are talking to us, but we are supposed to thrive. And I believe that we are designed to thrive in nature. So when we got out of whack like that, We just look and say, all right, what's going on? What do I need?
Yes.
That's where the curiosity comes in.
And then I think for me, what I noticed, because like when I was living in Thailand, and it was like, there's a big focus on like, you're living in a spiritual community. So it's like this little bubble and people are talking about homeopathy and doing yoga and, their butt, like there's all this kind of stuff. And so coming back to Canada, so coming back to the West, the thing that struck me the most is how much physical and emotional pain people will just put up with.
Yes.
And that people will just be like, oh, I'll take this, or, oh, I got to do, it's like, whoa, it's like, what is really going on here that your body is getting so thrown off, or you're having all these sort of symptoms or illnesses, or emotionally, your emotional states, like, people are just like, just want to take a pill just to sort of, so they can tolerate it, rather than like, it's like, well, you're actually really not supposed to feel like that. It's like, there's a way to feel like light and energized and like, like have this like fullness and just feeling so good in your body. It's like, that's really the starting point. It's not, we're not supposed to be tolerating these things emotionally, physically. And it's amazing how people just sort of, it's scary to me how normalized it is.
Yes. Yes, I love the way you put that. And you have a better perspective than I do, because you were away and then you came back.
Yeah.
And
what's going on?
What's going on? In what planet are we supposed to settle? But what's happened is that women find that putting themselves first, their own self-care, is selfish, when in fact it's selfish when we don't take care of ourselves.
Yeah. And what you do, and you teach other people, especially if you have children or people around you, it's like, that's how you're
exactly.
That's how you're supposed to be as a woman. So it's like, you sacrifice this, or it's just like, you're really perpetuating like a really, I guess, damaging cycle. Like it just keeps going.
And you're on target. And at my age, we talk about, that's your legacy. I mean, your legacy is your ripple in the world.
Right.
And your classroom is what we learn when we get curious about what's going on. That's kind of our garden, our soil, and our nutrients are right there when we're in the middle of what we're supposed to be learning and what we're working on. But when you're absolutely right, we continue to produce generations of women that are not taking care of themselves. And that's interestingly one of the first things. A lot of times women come to me for weight loss, of course, and whatever I do, I always show my before and after. And I'm just going to my body is whispering, my throat's a little dry, so.
Okay.
I'm going to take a sip of ionized water so that. And interestingly, one of the first things that we do is talk about self-care. And it's so easy. You see, I have an orchid in the background. I didn't just put it there because I may have cleaned the desk off because we were getting on together, but there's always flowers there. There are always flowers there. That's one of the first things. Like I said, it has to be easy. So one of the first things we do is we get flowers around the house. We get, little things like that. Put diffusers around, little things that are easy to implement for women that they feel better.
Right.
And when it's easy and they start to feel better right away, making changes here and tweaks there, wherever they are in need of it, then right away that fog starts to dissipate, and they handle things better, and they're teaching people around them, their children, their contemporaries, their friends.
Yeah. And I think that I've mentioned this in podcasts before, and I say this to clients all the time, I think when you make subtle changes, I think people don't realize how powerful that subtlety can be. So sometimes it's like, you know, you might experience this in in what you do. I definitely see it in clients in mine where it's like, okay, now I have to go and do this. And it's this big, drastic, extreme sort of change. And it's like, okay, well, you know, is that sustainable? Or like sometimes our nervous system actually isn't even designed to handle that yet. So it's like
Yes.
when you start to make subtle changes, like having flowers, something that represents like life, growth around, with, I always give this example of like, like super independent women and, they want to sort of learn to receive or surrender or whatever. And it's like, just go to a grocery store and stand there. And then when a man walks by, ask him to grab him for you something off the top shelf. Just something like that. It's like, you don't have to have this big conversation with your father or whatever. Like, you might get there, but it's just like starting to like slowly shift and redesign, like shift your nervous system where it's like, you start to have a different experience and it's like, oh, okay. And then that subtlety I think is really powerful because it's working at like a very fine level, but the ripple effects, it's like that subtlety of small changes are actually really big in making whatever kind of transformation or change that you're looking to make.
That absolutely. And it's not that people don't have the desire. It's not willpower at all. It's skill power. And when you go and you ask the right questions, when you realize it's like, well, what do I need to learn today? And one of the most important things in the foundation of what I learned on my journey from Dr. Otto Warburg, who was a 1930s German scientist and in 1931 Nobel Prize for Medicine. And he taught us about the connection of sugar and cancer and how important oxygen is and that cancer and disease, everything that's going on. But cancer is an anaerobic cell, which means it cannot live in the presence of oxygen. Mm-hmm. Once I heard that, it was like, I'm a choreographer. Once I heard that, it was like, that was the theme. That's the subject of what we're doing. I can handle that. So when we know that in order to feel better, mentally, physically, in all areas, that we need to flood our body with oxygen, whether it's positive thoughts, we get sick when we're stressed and all that, and we have trauma, but that's because our body gets acidic in that situation. Mm. And it's a ripple effect. And so what we do is we teach women, well, we teach, everybody that, but so what do I do to bring oxygen into my lifestyle? And from there, it's easy. So great. What are here's a food chart. Here's a chart of all the alkaline foods or the acidic foods. Let's pick a few over here in column A and put them in your life. And I recently heard if you want to transform somebody's life, change their day. Mm. Yeah. So it really was what you were saying. You can't do up here before you get down here. Before you get those things. Yeah. Small things have, what's the expression? Small hinges open big doors. Yeah. There you go. So, So if we're talking about like what blocks people from hearing their bodies, like for you, is it like the toxins? Is it what's from your perspective? Is that? A couple of things. Awareness. Awareness. So here's, and that's such a perfect question, especially now. So you and I are talking in the middle of October 2020, in the middle of the pandemic that's, has its impact on everybody. And when it all started, what were we concentrating on? We were concentrating on toilet paper. Excuse me? We've missed the boat here. Yeah. What an incredible opportunity to speak to the world, to speak to our citizens about getting healthy. The best defense everything we're talking about is defensive.
Mm.
And I'm not minimizing that it's all needed. But the best defense is a good offense. You don't worry about losing at the buzzer if you're ahead by 10 points. So we have so missed the boat. And this is why it's so important that women rise and have input in the conversation. It's awareness. We have all this talk about, it started with toilet paper, and then it's like feeding ourselves comfort and all this and that. I mean, I see, it breaks my heart. People I know and love have their out at Dunkin' Donuts and getting this and getting that. And it's like, oh my God, really? Really? And all the things that people are cooking. And it's like, oh my God, we have so missed this boat.
Yeah.
But I believe it's awareness. I believe it's absolutely awareness. And energy, you know this.
Yeah.
Energy follows awareness.
Yeah. Where the mind goes.
So exactly. Whatever we're aware of, wherever we are, is where our energy goes and our actions go. So if we're still back here in the nightmares of this pandemic, but we're not asking questions about how do we move forward, we're staying there, that's where our awareness is. And we're still doing that, and we're still settling. People talk about, yes, I know everybody's indoors, and I know that, but people are going, oh yeah, I've got the corona 15, and they laugh about it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But that's where we are. And that's the bridge. The awareness is the bridge to why we're not doing it.
Yeah. So I think, having conversations like this of people like hearing, it's like your body is actually speaking to you. So there's like physical things happening, and there's emotional things too. Like if you tune into your body, it's like a basic like or like starting to listen to those. And I think so much of like the food that is the toxins, like the stress, it's like we have this like natural intelligence that is speaking to us all the time, and it's like we have all this shit blocked, and it takes a while for that to come through. And so I think when I think stress, I think having awareness around, if you just relax your body, like I know meditation like kind of freaks people out, or it's not always easy, but if you can just lay there even for a few minutes and just relax, and then the things that can happen, you can start to tune in and feel into your body of like, oh, I'm feeling this, or, oh, I have this, and starting just to pay attention of like, oh, I wonder what is going on there.
Mm-hmm.
And all that stuff, because I think there's just so much like the toxins, the stress, and it's just like it's blocking us from hearing what is like, and that's why. And then it's like the whole wall comes down, or what did you say? The whole bulldozer comes in or something, and we're just like, what?
Demolition trucks.
Demolition truck. And then we're like, well, where did that come from? It's like, actually, there was always all this stuff.
All this stuff beforehand.
Yeah, always. So yeah, definitely. But so how would you? What advice would you give to people how do they begin to sort of tune in to really awaken and listen to their body?
Well, in my world, in the food piece, my thought is look to God's garden for what you put in your body. Look to God's garden. It's as easy as that. And, we talk about meditation and all this, and there's a lot more of that going on. People are always looking up, and then they're feeding their mind, but they're forgetting about their body. So look at natural foods. Look at natural foods and err on the side of, not err, that's the wrong, and put your awareness on the side of things that are more alkaline in nature. So in fact, we can give your listeners, aside from another free gift that I have from them, we'll give them a food chart as well. Okay, yeah. So look at your most alkaline foods. You're looking at celery, kale, and avocado, and spinach, broccoli, and bell peppers, and things like that. Pick 2 or 3 and start to put them in your body. That's the easiest thing. The interesting thing, Kerri, is that the cleaner my body got, and I'm seeing this with my clients, the cleaner my body got, the deeper my thoughts became. Interesting. Very, very interesting. In fact, meditation has become so important in my life that I bribed my clients to meditate. I do. I literally bribe them. And, meditation is very easy. Sit quietly for 5 minutes. That's all you only have to start. Right. You really want to up your game, put some music on. Put some, ocean sound. But just sit quietly for 5 minutes. Right. But I literally bribe my private clients. And they text me for 7 days in a row. When they've done 7 days in a row, 15 minutes of meditation in a time slot, then I send them a gift. A physical gift. It's so important that I bribe them. And all of a sudden the awareness and I found that as I cleaned my body out and I began meditating, and that I saw further. This may sound really weird. No. But even it's not you get it?
I get it. It's like the clarity that comes. It's like it's just like a weight has been.
Yes. And I physically see further. I physically see beyond. I see the horizon, and rather than just what's in front of me, my energy, my whatever it is, goes to the horizon, and I see beyond that. It's really interesting, but it's amazing. But that's where the magic happens.
Right. And I love how you're talking about the physical things you put in your body, and I deal a lot with emotions, but it's they work together. It's a big piece of just what you put into your body. It's how that can change your emotional state, or it's there's a lightness in your body. It's maybe you can finally feel some things that you haven't been wanting to feel for a while, and look at all that. And it's just, and so I think they complement each other really well. And I think when you start this journey of, it's you can't really have one without the other. It's hard to, work on and really take care of your emotional self when you're, eating Dunkin' Donuts or whatever all the time, or putting heavy food in, or vice versa. Of when you start to eat really healthy, it's wow, that emotional stuff is really going to finally, have permission to come up to the surface. So they really are
dealt with, right?
They go off of each other for sure.
Yeah. And it's just learning, like we were saying, it's really skill power. So it's learning to make some substitutions. I mean, I love Italian food. Listen, my husband and I had pizza delivered last night. I'm not, a purist on that. But there wasn't any sausage on it. There were mushrooms and olives on it. But still, I wasn't in the mood to cook. But I balanced it during the day. I had whatever was going on. But it's much easier now as companies are aware of, as we're evolving, you can get cauliflower pizza crust, you can do that. You can get non-pasta noodles. I have spaghetti, angel hair, or linguine, but it's actually made with hearts of palm.
Okay.
Crazy, right? So here's a real lifetime tip.
Right.
Get it at Amazon, and they come in packets, and it's made of hearts of palm, and I use it as pasta.
Yeah.
And how amazing is that? That's an easy thing to do, but that's skill power, and that's why it's so important for the work that you do, the work that I do, and the work that we all do, because in the absence of support and accountability, the environment always wins.
Mm.
Left to our own, we're in the status quo.
Yeah.
And what's here. And that's why accountability and support is so important. I learned that from Jay Facette, and who's a mentor of mine. And when he said that, I went, wow, that's so true. Because in what we do, the people we're enhancing their environment.
Right.
So left on our own, we all default to the status quo, and the environment always wins.
And what sticks out for me when you said that is just like is choice. It's like making
Exactly.
different choices, because when we don't make choice, the shadow of choice is sabotage. So when we don't make choices, we sabotage ourselves. So we often look at, I've had clients, and I've definitely done this, where it's like you kind of get to a point where you look at life, it's just like, what is happening? How did I get here? It's like, yeah, I didn't consciously make any choice. I just sort of went with whatever was happening and whatever was there. And it's like, I made no choice. And it's like, wow, I really sabotaged myself and my life. So it's just starting to take accountability of like, okay, well, what is it? What choices do I want to make? Even small choices every day.
Yes.
Like starting to get that muscle sort of a little bit stronger. Like with your food, what do you want to eat? What do you want to wear? Like starting to get that, because it's like, if we don't start to make choice, then we're going to sabotage ourselves. And we get to a point in life where we look and we're just like, how the fuck did I get here? And all this kind of stuff, it's like, and I've had clients where it's just like, how did I, like, people are just like, I don't even know why I got married. Like, I just like, and it's like, yeah, because it's like, we don't realize that we can just get in that loop of things, right? Of just like going along with whatever, not thinking about what we're eating, not thinking about what we're thinking, or ignoring this, or not questioning if we really want to do this or that. And it can be really a scary thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I refer to as the status quo, because we have to be aware, we have to have enough energy to disrupt the status quo. And when we don't, then we're not making any changes.
No. And I think mediocrity is really the killer. Like that is that middle ground, because it's like
settle for it.
Yeah, that settling place, because it's like, okay, well, life's not terrible. Okay, but it's not great either. And that middle ground, I think that is really, that's a killer. That can just really, that's a brutal place to be. Yeah. And,
and that's where the work comes in, because that's the bridge.
Yeah.
That's the bridge from settling to prospering is the bridge of the work that needs to be done. And, other people call it, I know people say, well, we're going to see what the gap is. That's not my language. That's not how I feel. I feel it's the bridge. We're on a journey, and this is the journey that we need to take.
Right.
So we go over the bridge, we go through our stepping stones or whatever it is. But you're absolutely right. And we have to be conscious, again, awareness. And there are times when, listen, life happens, there's stuff that goes on, and when I find myself starting to spiral down, it doesn't happen that often anymore, because I will catch it earlier and earlier.
Right.
But, things go on, and it's like, wow, I am so far away from the present. But when you have the skill and it's like, I'm just back here. I'm dwelling on the stuff that had happened, and I need to get out of there. But at least I know there's nothing the matter with me. It's just that I've floated back to acting on behavior that's created in things in the past. And that doesn't do anybody any good.
Right.
That behavior. So I'll go, wow. But sometimes I laugh, and it doesn't happen very often, because I do know really early what to reach for. And it's like, how did I get so far? But at least I know. I grab some of my oils. Literally, I grab my elevation, and I calm myself down, and I get my food better, and I'll go out for a walk. But I laugh. I'm going, oh, wow, I am so far away from the present that my mind and my body is going, stop, come back. But the work is so important because we know how to come back.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm just like, oh, but I can come back. I caught it. And so you can start to question it rather than you get lost and you're just living from that space.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So just like that awareness of tuning in and your body. And I think from my perspective, for a lot of things that I do, it's like starting to like move your body to start to like, what is your body actually really feeling, And a lot of times people are feeling sensations like a tightness or tingling. It's like, those are sensations.
Yes.
But they're not feelings. So it's like starting with that sensation, moving, and it's like, okay, well, under the sensation, what's the feeling? And starting to access what your body's feeling and starting to move it. So I think those are things that really work well with, some of the things that you're talking about too. It's like starting to move your body and starting to actually like, what am I feeling? What's actually really going on here? So that's a big thing to, it's all about, I think, the body.
I'll tell you what it is. Yeah, it's so true. And you talk about moving your body and what's going on. One of the things that's totally been a game changer for Nevin and I is that 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago, was his 75th birthday. And my children, Nevin and I are close to celebrating our 29th anniversary. So we don't share children, we share grandchildren. And my children said, okay, Mom, what can we get Nevin for his birthday? It's a big birthday. So we thought about it, and I said, that speaker that you have where like when we come to your house and music is playing from your phone or whatever, my daughter Marla, who's now 52 and Seth is 50, she said, I got it, I'm on it, forget about it. So they sent him an Echo Plus for his birthday. Yeah. Now I'm a choreographer. To me, music I grew up in New York, Broadway, and performed in, and all that stuff. So for me, music is paramount. From the moment it came to our house, actually from the moment we figured out how to set it up, we have music going all the time. Mm. And that was a game changer. And now I have this in my office right here. This way. Yeah. So I have my Echo Plus, right? Yeah. This little $20, $23 item is here. I splurged and got a clock with mine, right? Yeah. So we got one for Nevin's office and for the great room inside. Music is on all the time. For me, I won't say her name because she'll start playing. So I'll go, Susan, play Judy Garland. Yeah. Right? And it's whatever I need. But again, it's that skill that I can stop myself with. Sometimes I'll go, Susan, play Defying Gravity, because that's like my thing, right. From Wicked, Defying Gravity. And, I'm through with playing by someone else's rules. And sometimes when I'm working, it's, Susan, play smooth jazz or play Aaron Copland or whatever I want, Leonard Bernstein, whatever I feel like listening to. We listen to music at dinner time now. But so this is such an easy thing to do and to utilize. And these are, like you were saying, those small things, and they really matter. And this having music and learning how to have music on all the time, I have my clients make a playlist. What's their playlist? Yeah. I know some people give you a playlist. No. I want you to create your own. In our VIP days, we do our playlist, and that's the top 5 tunes on your playlist. That says a lot about where you are and who you are, and it's a beautiful window inside the heart. For sure. So yeah, we do that a lot. That's that's for your audience. Find your music. Yeah, exactly. And start playing and like the moving to music and starting to feel it all the time. It can be really powerful. So I love if I turn around. So in our house, I cook and Nevin cleans because I'm not doing both, and he's certainly not cooking. Yeah. So, but some evenings, quite a few evenings, he'll have music on and he'll be like moving to the music. And it's like, oh my God, it makes my heart sing.
Yeah.
You know?
And then there's a real opportunity for connection with the
Yep.
two of you. So it's beautiful.
We do that a lot.
That's
we do
great.
that a lot.
Well, Elaine, thank you so much. This was
so much fun. I could talk to you forever.
A great conversation. But you had some sort of offering for people who are watching. So
yes, I have a free gift for your audience.
Oh, perfect.
But so you already know that I'm a Jewish grandmother from New York. So I had to put together more than one gift.
Okay.
So because 3 gifts are better than 1. So we have 3 beautiful ebooks that are put together for you, and it's called Feel Fabulous Trio, and there'll be a link here for you. So and they're beautiful, and they'll really get you started. So one is 12 juices for radiant skin, another is food and hormones, and then a third is 5 easy ways to add raw food into your diet. And they're beautiful, and they'll be here for you. And also we'll include, I want to give your listeners, your audience, a full list of foods to choose from.
Perfect.
So they have the tools to make choices.
Yes.
Because left to their own, the environment.
We need some help when we're starting a new way. We sort of need some support. So,
absolutely.
Yes. And so if people want to get a hold of you, how do they do that? Where do they find you? All that stuff.
Yes. My website is renewedlivinginc.com, renewedlivinginc.com. We have an incredible Facebook group called The Extraordinary Sisterhood. And right now we're close to 760 extraordinary women, and our whole being is about being committed to creating extraordinary lifestyles, legacies, and love. And it's a wonderful group. I'm sure your audience would adore it.
Yeah, I think that would be. I'm a part of it. So yeah.
Yes, we love it.
Yeah. So thank you again so much. And people, I'll put all the links below. So for all the free gifts, and if people want to get a hold of you. So Elaine, thank you so much for sharing your.
Thank you.
I hope this served whoever was watching, and stay tuned to the end. So thank you so much. And all the details.
And let me just say, thank you so much for the work that you do.
Oh, thank you.
It's a big deal, and it matters, and it's so important. And I love that you do all that.
Yeah, I think one thing, it's like the whole settling thing. It's like, that's the thing with you and I. It's like, no, that is like a big, I hate when I see it. It just, my heart just like, ooh, when I see people settling. So don't settle. There you go. That's my advice. So Elaine, again, thank you so much. And to everyone who watched, I hope this conversation served you in some way, and we will see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you again.